Well, back again. One more little look at these pictures from a slightly different view. This time we're going to take a look at things from soil management strategies and get to some of the improvement. That, of course, is called sustainable soil and crop management. So we want to take a look at how we can protect our soils. Some of that we're looking at that around the principles of soil health, which there's 4 principles of soil health. I'll read to you in the soil health sheet here, which I will get to you if you haven't got it yet. Keep the soil covered as much as possible, principle number 1. Principle number 2, disturb the soil as little as possible. Number 3, keep plants growing throughout the year to feed the soil. And then number 4, diversify as much as possible using crop rotations and cover crops. So we'll take a look at some of that and how maybe opportunities for improvement in a lot of farming systems today. Let's see how that goes there. All right, management strategies. Again, why do we care? The soil is probably the number 1 resource that all farmers have. They all have in common. If we don't take care of our soil, we will erode it, it will degrade. You won't be able to produce as much in the future as you do today. And it's just really indicative of what we would call our land ethic, is how we treat our soils. Taking good care of them is a part of what everybody, I think, hopes to do. So sometimes we do a good job, and sometimes we could use a little bit of new practices or new ideas to do that. Of course, it's not just soils that we're concerned about. What we do to our soils has a deep impact on our water resources as well. And of course, without water, we won't live long in this society, in this world, and there's a number of issues around water quality that we could do well to improve in our farming practices so that we don't have problems with that. Case in point, a lot of rain here over the last month or so. This particular field, unfortunately, the farmer is working on harvesting silage corn, and then deluge of rain comes. This is what you end up with: the flooded fields and high potential for loss of nutrients, loss of soil to the farmers. We've talked a lot about landscapes today, or in the other videos along with this one. Managed. Here you have one of the principles of keeping your soil covered and growing is being seen here and you definitely want to till up a long-term pasture. One of the troubles is, though, that the kinds of grasses that survive in a permanent pasture situation like this don't have the depth of the rooting structure that help hold the soil together, so erosion really still can be a major problem in some of the pasture areas, as you see this massive gully erosion event going on in this particular farm here. Using the contour, the crop rotations that's mentioned there, multiple species of crop rotations with corn and soybeans and alfalfa in here, that helps. The contour stripping is another way to help prevent soil erosion when the ground isn't covered. That prevents a lot of the management strategies. Keeping things covered, keeping things growing. This is a cover crop example. If you look real close in there, you can see that it is multi-species, so they're diversifying their cropping system here. They have probably a 3-species cover crop mix going on out there. There's opportunities to add more as the world goes on with cover crop systems are better developed. There'll probably be more diverse species, but this adds a level of diversity to corn, soybean, wheat cropping that can help with the soil health factors too. And we'll get into more of those as we go along. Again, continuous pasture on these really steep slopes, that's going to be a challenge to work for anybody. Another example of how diversifying your cropping systems with the soybean and then the cover crop left over from the wheat field on these hills, as farmers work into try to maintain soil cover, keep a growing crop throughout the non-growing season so that we don't have erosion problems and you'll get the soil health benefits from that. Another typical, this is a no-till field, of course. All the residue that's left behind here, you see a lot of residue. As the other principle of reducing your tillage, this is a great example of a method to try to practice that. For animal farmers, you have the opportunity, you can get into managed grazing, which of course is a method of very diversified cropping system. Many pastures have 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different species in them, even more sometimes. They're never tilled, so that's another issue. The cows do a lot of the work of nutrient movements and nutrient planting, so that's a positive for that. Pretty good soil health system. As long as the pastures are well managed, it's a very good soil health system to think about. Another example of cover cropping, this is the Sauk County farm again with multiple species. There's 4 species in this cover crop mix, I believe, or 5. Right. Getting into the multiple species, having this opportunity in this cropping system with the corn, soybean, and wheat farm rotation, getting something on the ground after wheat is taken off, hopefully even still getting something on the ground after soybeans are taken off, although this year is going to be tricky because we're so wet. But again, there could be even possibilities to get something up and growing in a corn grain situation as well. In Wisconsin, our dairy, classic dairy rotations were very good soil health rotations. And with alfalfa, corn, and beans, you had a good, the rotation was multi-species, so there's 4 or 5 different species that go through the rotation. And alfalfa being one that you had good, solid, continuous cover and good rooting systems in place. But one of the things we've changed in our dairy feeding styles is adding in silage corn, which may be a good feed for our cattle, which is of course an important part of it. It does raise some issues and concerns as far as soil management is concerned. There's a great deal of time where the soil is very uncovered. There's almost no residue left in the silage situation. Then, of course, we put manure on top of that as well. So you have a great deal of opportunity for nutrient loss. Skip over that. Again, the contour stripping is another way to diversify your cropping as well as work on reducing water loss, erosion loss. One of the reducing tillage is an important part of what's available. Tillage is sometimes necessary, but getting to this level of no residue left may be a little bit of overkill. Again, back in the dairy rotations, you have these great big fields of alfalfa which do well as a cover crop, and where we're in our corn and soybean rotations, other cropping rotations, bringing in the cover cropping mix is a good first step in thinking about how to add soil health and to work on protecting our waters. This algae bloom is just down by Sauk City. They're all over water bodies around the state, but it is becoming a major issue in a lot of water bodies in Wisconsin, not to mention what's going on in the Gulf of Mexico with the hypoxia zone killing off shrimp and other species of the big dead zone, which is directly related to farming practices in the upper Midwest. So, there's an old saying, an old bumper sticker that one of my professors had, and I had at one time, is we got to stop treating our soils like dirt. Well, here's some opportunities to talk about ways we can do that in this class. So we'll get to some of those as we move forward.